Today let's look at inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. Inflectional morphemes are always suffixes, never prefix. They are always suffixes. First thing. Secondly, they have an element of grammar to them. They don't help in making new words, such as what the derivational morphemes will do. Inflectional morphemes will have only that grammar part. So, what is that? Let us look at that. By grammar, I mean they will show, tense, or they will show the possessive case, or they will show plural. So, inflectional morphemes, and there are only 8 of them. If I put them very simply for you, you will have to remember 8. Now, which are those 8? Out of those 8, the first 3 are the S morpheme. See, we say books. So, book plus plural S, that's a morpheme. Book plus plural S, that's a morpheme. Then we have the apostrophe S showing the possessive case, Mohans, Reenas, apostrophe S. So, the possessive case is another morpheme. This is an inflectional morpheme. We saw plural S and we saw apostrophe S, the possessive case, that is another inflectional morpheme. And the third inflectional morpheme is again an S. See, we say I write, you write, she writes, we added an S. I play, you play, he plays. I eat, you eat, she eats. That third person singular S is an inflectional morpheme. So now it's easy to remember. You have that S morpheme functioning in 3 ways. These are inflectional morphemes. Now, if you look at these 3, when I said book and when I said books, book is a noun, it's a thing, so you called it a noun. Books, again they are things, they are nouns. So inflectional morphemes never change parts of speech. If something is a noun, after adding inflectional morpheme, it will still remain a noun. If something is a verb, after adding inflectional morpheme, it will still remain a verb. If something is an adjective, after adding an inflectional morpheme, it will still remain an adjective. So this is how it functions. We saw the 3 S in the inflectional morphemes. Now let us look at the other 5. The next 3 are going to be related to verbs. So now you have the past tense of a verb. This is an inflectional morpheme. Post, posted, ed, post, posted. Dance, danced. Now these are inflectional morphemes showing past tense, the second form of the verb. Then you have the third form of the verb which you attach to has, have, had. For instance, do, did, done. He had done, third form. He had posted the letter. Second form also ed, third form also ed. Beaten, en. All these third forms of verbs, that which shows the third form, which is called past participle in grammar, they are inflectional morphemes. So the second form of the verb, the third form of the verb. These are inflectional morphemes. And you have the ing form: singing, dancing, playing, running, laughing. Ing, this is also an inflectional morpheme. So you have 3s. Then you have the second form of the verb, the past tense, and you have the past participle, third form of the verb, and you have the ing form. So now you have 6 inflectional morphemes. Now let us look at 2 more. Degrees of comparison: hot, hotter, hottest, est, warm, warmer, warmest. So this and est, these are inflectional morphemes, and est. So these 8, the 3s, then the second and third forms of the verb and the ing form, these are another 3, so now you have 6. And you have the comparative form and the superlative form: hot, hotter, hottest, est. These are also inflectional morphemes. So you have 8 of these inflectional morphemes. Others, no matter how many there are, they are all derivational morphemes. Now we have to understand one thing here. Suppose we say 8. 8. So it has 2 morphemes. Eat plus second form. Eat is the root, and you have then that second form 8. So that's an inflectional morpheme, and the word 8 has 2 morphemes. Is it clear? Similarly, let's look at some more words. Let us look at this. Is very important because you have it in the derivational morphemes also, and you have it in the inflectional morphemes as well. When we said hotter, it was a degree of comparison. When we said warmer, louder, the ER stands for the comparative form. But when we say teacher, teach is a verb and you're adding ER, it is becoming teacher. The verb is becoming a noun. Now this is not, when you said warmer, it meant that more warm. But when you said teacher, it did not mean more teach. It meant a person who teaches. So that act of teaching, the verb, is getting changed into a noun, a person who teaches, teacher. This is a derivational morpheme. The difference between an inflectional morpheme and a derivational morpheme, an inflectional morpheme is always a suffix. A derivational morpheme could be a suffix. It could also be a prefix. It could be either. It doesn't matter. But an inflectional morpheme will always be a suffix. The second difference is that an inflectional morpheme will never change its part of speech. For instance, you say book, noun, books, nouns. Number of books. That's again noun. Or you say write, verb, writes, again a verb. It won't change the part of speech. But in the case of a derivational morpheme, it may change the part of speech, it may not. It's not compulsory that it's going to change the part of speech. It may not. Another thing is, you have to remember that derivational morphemes help in word building. That is, the noun is becoming this is becoming that kind of a thing. And this is a grammatical unit, the inflectional morphemes. And the inflectional morphemes are only 8. For your convenience, you need to remember these 8. All the others are derivational morphemes. Within one word, you could have a root, you could have an inflectional morpheme, and you could also have a derivational morpheme. It is absolutely possible to have a word in which there is a root and a derivational morpheme as well as an inflectional morpheme. So if you remember these 8, which are those 8? Plural S, then possessive case, apostrophe S, and then you have the third form of the verb, write, writes. These 3. Then in the verbs you have the second form, that is the past tense. Then you have the third form, the past participle, and you have the ing form. So now you have 6. Then you have the degrees of comparison, er and est. Now look at the word teachers. Teach is the root. Er, one who teaches. This is a derivational morpheme, but then you're adding an S. So S becomes an inflectional morpheme. So the word teachers, painters, dancers, and many other words like this, they have a combination of an inflectional morpheme and a derivational morpheme.